As a SIM card user, you are probably aware that there are rights and privileges that are accrued to you that cannot be tampered with. But have you ever wondered whether you owe duties towards a service provider? Good day, class. My name is Oluwaseun Ogunnaike, a graduate of law from the Oluwaseun University, Agogo, and a graduate trainee here at Harlem Telecoms Academy, proudly sponsored by Harlem Solicitors. Today, I'll be giving a lecture on the obligations of consumers under the NCC's General Consumer Code of Practice. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to understand who licensees are, their relationship with consumers, and the duties that consumers owe towards the service providers. First, let us understand that the General Consumer Code of Practice is a schedule under Regulations 3 sub 2 of the Consumer Code of Practice Regulations 2024, hereinafter referred to as the CCPR 2024 or the 2024 regulations enacted by the Nigerian Communications Commission. There are a set of obligations that arises when a consumer and a service provider have reasonably entered into a service agreement for the provision of telecommunications services. Paragraph 37 of the CCPR 2007 provides that there are 3 instances by which we can ascertain that a consumer and a service provider has entered into an agreement, and the following are these 3 instances. Number 1 is where the consumer returns a signed copy of the service agreement to the service provider. The second is where a consumer has clearly accepted the terms of the contract through any form of telecommunications between them and the service provider. Another instance is where the consumer, having received an adequate communication of all the terms and conditions of the contract, begins usage of the services, which signifies that he or she has accepted the terms of the service agreement. That being said, let us delve into the 5 obligations of consumers under the General Consumer Code of Practice schedule found in Regulations 3 sub 2 of the Consumer Code of Practice Regulations 2024. They include: number 1, access for maintenance; number 2, tampering with equipment; number 3, reselling of services without authorization; number 4, public telecommunications services misuse; and number 5, what we call dishonest joining. I will go further to elaborate on them one after the other. The first, that is access for maintenance, is provided for under paragraph 38 of the schedule to the CCPR 2024. It provides that consumers should grant service providers access to their facilities, access to their premises and services for the purpose of maintaining of this equipment and also for the purpose of provisioning for these services. The second, that is tampering with equipment, is provided for under paragraph 39 sub 1, 3, 4, and 5 of the schedule to the CCPR 2024. It explains that consumers are not allowed to use the services, that is telecommunication services, for any other purpose apart from the purposes which have been enumerated in their service agreement with the service providers. They cannot tamper with the normal operation of this equipment. They cannot move this equipment from their registered location to another location without prior written authorization from the service providers. They cannot modify this equipment or attach any other unauthorized device. For unauthorized devices, we mean devices that tamper with blocking of services and devices that interfere with communications. For the third, that is reselling of services without authorization, it is provided for under paragraph 40 of the schedule to the CCPR 2024, and it explains that consumers are not allowed to resell services to other consumers without prior authorization from the service providers. This means that they are not allowed to transfer the services that have been granted to them to other consumers, except it has already been stated in their service agreements. For the fourth, that is the obligations regarding misuse of public telecommunication services. It is provided for under paragraph 39 sub 2 of the schedule to the CCPR 2024. It explains that consumers are not allowed to obtain telecommunication services dishonestly. They are not allowed to possess or produce telecommunication services equipment that is dishonest. They are also not allowed to use telecommunication services to send messages that are tagged obscene, messages that are tagged illegal, or messages that have a threatening nature. The last obligation is what we call dishonest joining. It is provided for under paragraph 41 of the schedule to the CCPR 2024. It explains that consumers are not allowed to switch to a new network provider without settling all their payments with their current network provider. It also grants the network providers the permission to conduct investigation on new consumers to ensure that these consumers do not owe payments towards their previous network providers before providing their own telecommunications services. In conclusion, we can easily deduce that the reason for the General Consumer Code of Practice Schedule under Regulations 3 sub 2 of the Consumer Code of Practice Regulations 2024 is for the purpose of peaceful coexistence between the consumers and the service providers, and also for the furtherance of the Nigerian telecommunications industry. For more information, visit our website at www.alemsolicitors.com or visit the NCC's website at www.ncc.gov.ng. Thank you very much. I remain Oluwaseun Ogunnaike from Alem Telecoms Academy.